Welcome everybody to another episode of Meet Me in Napa. I'm so glad that you're here joining us again. You already know who I am, your host, Jeremy Jackson. I'm here with a very, very special guest today, Dr. Doug Yaris. How you doing today?
Great, good to see you. I love your smile. I mean,
well, you fixed it.
That's right. I mean, it's your signature. The smile is always that card that you want to have. Always feeling good, add the confidence, and
Yeah.
it's been great to meet you through through that avenue.
Yeah. So if a little intro about Dr. Doug here, he's a dentist here in Napa Valley. And if you see my pearly whites, and then you see, he really does good work. But also we're at his tasting room here in Yountville, Hope and Grace.
So yeah, that's something that I was never involved in wine ever before, and was a week old when we moved to Napa, and grew up here. Never thought I'd ever be part of anything before, and then time goes on. You go to school. When I started out, golf became a big deal. I got recruited by Stanford out of here, and thought I'd be playing pro golf.
Wait a second.
Yeah.
You're jumping straight to Stanford.
Yeah.
Where were you? You were raised in Napa, right?
So raised in Napa.
Okay.
Went to Little Vichy Elementary School. Went to Silverado Middle School.
Okay.
And then went to Vintage High School.
Okay.
And Vintage High School was the brand new high school in Napa. And it was, going to a brand new high school was a number of things, but it was exciting because we only really had Napa High and we had Justin. I was public schools all the way through. And then when I went to Vintage, took a liking to golf when I was 12, got a hole-in-one, and qualified for a pro golf tournament when I was 18. And so right off the bat, when I was young, golf was the area I wanted to go into. And you look at everything now with the wine industry as it is. My wife, Tiffany, had been in the industry for a few years, and she kept crossing paths with very, very famous winemaker, Charles Hendricks, who we had the opportunity. He started Hope and Grace, and the kind of the product, everything involved with it. The label, Hope and Grace, his two daughters, is named after his two daughters. And so we were at a time, gosh, it was 20 years ago, 20 plus years, probably year 2001, where she came home one day and she said, hey, I think here's this idea. We could get in the wine business with Charles. And she knew him well. I already had known about him.
Okay.
He was, out of 10,000 winemakers submitted to the Wine Spectator one year, he was the number 2 winemaker in the world.
Wow.
So I already knew who he was, and she was friends with him already.
Now, I'm sorry, but was this before? This was after you went to Stanford?
After Stanford.
So let me just kind of get so when people were watching this, they could get the story right. So you were here in Napa, born, raised here.
Yeah.
And were your parents from here? Where were your parents from originally?
So my parents originally were from Pennsylvania.
Okay, Pennsylvania.
And
so they migrated here.
They migrated here. My grandparents were from Prague, Czechoslovakia.
Okay.
And so my dad came out here. He became a dentist. My dad's brother became a physician, chief of staff at Children's Hospital. And there was medicine in our field.
So your dad was a dentist.
Yes.
You're a dentist, and your son is also a dentist. So that's 3 generations.
3 generations in a
Wow.
row. All at the same dental school in San Francisco, which is very odd to have 3 family members go 3 straight years.
So if he would have played for the Warriors, then you would have played for the Warriors.
That's where I would have gone.
And Travis would have.
Right. Yeah.
But now it's in dentistry. Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure we get that timeline
Yeah.
straight. So you're here, then you didn't, although we're at a tasting room and you're in the wine world now, when you were growing up here, that wasn't something that you saw. Was it something that you saw as a viable option to? Okay.
No, not even on the horizon.
Not even on the horizon. And what was the year? What was that year when you left high school to college?
So I left Napa 78 and didn't come back to Napa till 83.
Okay, so at that time you were at Stanford.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
what were your Stanford years like?
Stanford years were great. I mean, it was really, it was more about the people that you were surrounded with. A lot of athletes. John Elway was there. You know, it was before the Tiger Woods time, but it was Tiger Woods type athletes that were there. And you were around that in every sport. And the classmates were great, but the professors like Ted Kennedy, he was one of my professors in the Graduate School of Business in economics of healthcare, and it's surreal.
The
Ted Kennedy.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Linus Pauling, who was the Nobel winner in vitamin C, and I had, so out of my professors, I had 5 Nobel Prize winners.
Oh, man.
So it was really that moment in time that a little bit is being left on you as you're going through that process. You don't realize it.
Yeah, you're not really grasping how big the magnitude of these people, their accomplishments, and even the reach of where they influence in their respective industries, right?
So computers were just starting, and I mean, there was nothing like we know today.
Yeah.
And so I remember going home one day, and a buddy of mine, we were on our bikes living off campus. He said, "Hey, I want to cruise by and have you check out these guys. They're working in the garage." It was Steve Jobs' house that we went to. And, you know, literally looking back, I go, maybe I should have gone that route.
Right.
That should have been my route.
You should have hung out in there a little longer.
Right. But I mean, that's what Stanford was like at that time. It was just beginning.
Okay.
You know, and none of us really knew what that future was going to be. You know, but looking back at that time period, it was more not really the classes that you went to, but it was just the interacting. Like you and I, we met right off the bat. We hit it, and you kick it with different people, and you realize, you know, that's something that you early on you go, I think I want to spend a little bit of time with that person.
Yeah.
You know, and it's that thing that grows year after year after year. And dental school, I realized that golf, I thought about going pro, but there was no money in golf.
So you play golf at Stanford?
Yes.
So is that why you went to Stanford? Was for golf, or were you there for dentist?
That's an interesting thing. So
You told your dad it was for dentist, but really it was golf.
Right. Academics was always big with me, and I thought of either med school, dental school, or Stanford was trying to get me worked into like some sort of administrative business, hospital administration role, that sort of thing. I didn't like that, and I wanted something more flexible. And so as each year went at Stanford, here's the turning point. Life is interesting in turning points. My coach that recruited me, I was being recruited by USC, UCLA, Stanford, and the coach that I had was a legendary golf coach, and he was Tom Watson's golf coach. So he talked to me and he said, "Hey, we're going to recruit you. We're going to redshirt you the first year." And then I got a golfer from La Jolla. I've got a golfer from Robert Louis Stevenson, Pebble Beach. You 3 guys, I think we're going to use you as the emphasis of our team. And so I thought, okay, great. This is what we're going to do. I get there, and then there's an automatic change where he had some health history. He had to step down. And that kind of broke my heart a little bit, because he's a guy that I was recruited by.
Right.
You know, and so then here's the crazy story. My next 3 years at Stanford in golf, I had 3 different coaches. So it wasn't that set of, I'm going to go into golf. You know, it was there, but immediately it's the academics and the people that I met and at Stanford in academics that I fell in love with.
Yeah.
You know, they became my mentors. They were the ones that I was looking into. And so here we are, where, you know, I then graduate from Stanford in 80. I go through the only accelerated dental school program, which should be 4 years, but I finished a year early, 1983. And I'm not done with dentistry. It was September of 83, where then I could go ahead and go out and become a dentist. And so I moved back here. And what's interesting is the food industry had changed, the wine industry had changed, but I wasn't even aware of it yet, because I was running and going, and went to work with my dad. He was a dentist, And
His practice was in
and it was actually in Crockett,
Crockett,
which is
okay.
you know, down around East Bay area. Funny, Green Day was kind of starting a little bit after that time period. So I got to know all those guys as they were people that I knew, upcoming young musicians, 15, 16 years old, and they were launching, and they later became Green Day. But so I was at Crockett, and that was my first practice, and I had it down there all the way until my son decided to go into dentistry, and that was around 2006 to 2009, and he said, I want to go to dental school.
So let me pause right there for a second. So as you're talking about, I'm kind of connecting these dots here. So you talked about with the Stanford, and which I didn't know because you're still an avid golf player.
Yes.
And I mean, if anybody sees your pictures, you've golfed with everybody and who's who, right? I'm going to ask you about the Tiger Woods in a little bit, but not right now. So what you did, when you got back to Napa, you working with your dad, but you were living in Napa.
Yes.
Okay.
Lived in Napa full time.
Right.
Yeah.
So tell me what was the transition into the wine world from that point? And how long did it take? Was it right away? Was it like 4 or 5 years? Was it 10 years? Like, what was the time frame from you established yourself in dentistry to becoming to where we are today?
So it's interesting. First house was in Napa, and then it wasn't until probably maybe 5 years later that I bought a place up here in Yountville.
Okay.
And that helped change a few things, because I bought the place in 90. Thomas Keller came up here in 92, started the French Laundry. And that was all a storyline going on.
It started a ground.
Yes.
Yeah.
I became really good friends with the people starting Opus One. Lisa Hickson, the Mondavis hired as to come in, start Opus One from the ground floor, and she was here 7 years. And so as you start learning about the Opuses and about the French Laundries, and you realize there's something significant going on in Napa. I'm not a winemaker. I'm not in the wine business. But from the outside, I'm looking in going,
you see it happening.
There's something big happening here that wasn't here when I was a kid growing up. And
which is interesting because I feel like it's happening again.
Exactly.
And it's a new thing. But I'll let you continue. But I just
And so when I was at Stanford, Peter Mondavi was there. And he's from the family of Charles Krug.
Charles Krug, yes.
And he was going to Stanford. He loved sports too. We met down there, and we were friends from afar. And he kept going off to school. But in his mind, I think he knew he was always going to go back into wine. And that was the thing. Me, that wasn't there. But then I met Tiffany became my wife. And she was in the wine business, working for different wineries in Napa at the time. And she had met Charles back in San Francisco years ago. And it's funny, when we started dating, she brought his name up, like Charles Hendricks is this top, winemaker. He's the real deal. And so his paths kept crossing a little bit with her. And then lo and behold, he decides to make his first product in winery, Hope and Grace. And that was around the late 90s, early 2000s. And then Tiffany's talking to Charles, and I remember Tiffany coming home one day and she says, I think we're going to go in a different connection here. I'm going to go into Hope and Grace, and we're going to launch with Charles. And that's what she said. So both of them launched the product at the same time back in that time period. And it was a fortunate time to launch because Charles had so much success already. And I can't wait for you to meet him in a minute.
We're going to talk to him in a second.
His stories are unreal of what he has in the wine business.
I mean, you got some incredible stories too. So if for all those who are watching, Dr. Doug is probably the most famous, not famous person you'll ever meet. I mean, he comes across. You meet him. You tell us all the different stories and the people. I want to say I don't want to pick it for you, but give me one of your just stories that we're at the shop or we're just shooting a breeze. You just have so many of them.
Fred Warner.
Okay, Fred Warner. There you go.
Fred Warner was 21 years old when we met, fresh out of college. He went to BYU. We meet at an event in San Francisco, and he comes up to me, and the number one Armani salesperson in the world became a really close friend of mine, randomly.
Okay.
And Alex Mack, number one in the world, and he knows all the 49er guys. So I meet Alex randomly. We become dear friends, and golf is a thing. Golf is the glue that holds us all together. And a lot of these guys that I've met through the years, golf has been that glue that holds us all together. So anyway, Fred Warner comes up to me at this event, says, "Hey, I need your number." They say, "You're the Napa guy. I'm interested in food and wine. I kind of would like to figure more about that someday." So I don't think he's going to respond back to me. Lo and behold, we become close friends. He comes up a lot of times, with the 49ers, with his girlfriend.
The best team in football.
Yes. Sydney Warner that he started dating. They got engaged up here. I helped set the site up for where he dropped to his knee, popped the question. You're at those moments in time with people that are so crucial, important to their lives, that you sit there, and after you go through this and you're there with them during those time periods, you go, we're friends for life.
Yeah.
And that's who we became.
Yeah.
And, ended up going to his wedding and met a bunch of his friends. And to this day, he's really one of my closest friends. That's to follow him and all the success that he's done. And, that's like I play golf with Chef Keller, French Laundry. And it goes on and on and on, the different people you meet.
One thing I love about your stories is that they're so authentic.
Yeah.
It's not this, there's nothing that you're chasing. Your life is just happening. Right. And so even when we were talking, and I remember one time you were telling something and I was talking to my buddy, at the shop and you had left. I got done talking, you had left. And I asked him, I said, "And does all that stuff really happen to you?" It was just, it's
right. Because there's so
much. I bet you it was so much. I asked him, I said, "Does all that stuff really happen to you?" He's like, "Nah, man, it's true."
Yeah.
Because it's just amazing. Well, so you have Hope and Grace.
Yep.
And you started it with, tell me his name again, I'm sorry.
It's Charles Hendricks.
Charles Hendricks is the winemaker, and you guys get into this business in the late 90s, early 2000s. What was the wine industry at that point, Napa, looking like? What was it feeling like? How did you? It must have been like boomtown. It was booming, right? And so what was the atmosphere? How were you responding to it? How was it responding to you?
So to answer that the best, you're going to get that all through Charles, because what I was getting was reacting to this is a big deal for the Napa Valley. So what was happening here was Napa Valley was that site in the world that was the most, I don't know if I want to say famous, or one of those spots that everybody wanted to go to. That this was the spot. If you were a winemaker, you wanted to be a wine owner, you wanted to be a chef, you wanted to open a restaurant, Napa Valley was ground zero. And so that's what became very aware very quickly. And it's fun. I got to meet Robert Mondavi at a young age, and when he joined forces with and did Opus One, I went to all those events way back in the day and watched that firsthand and saw this whole thing unfold. And it was pretty cool because Tiffany was in the business of creating like a tasting room, creating the wine club, creating marketing and that thing. So I was the guy on the side that she said, "Hey, you've got some good contacts down at Stanford. You've got good contacts down in Hollywood." And so when Hope and Grace started, we had a pretty good following right off the bat. I mean, we were being served Desperate Housewives into the season every year, Wisteria Lane, with the casting crew down there at Universal Studios. That led to Julia Roberts coming in. They were staying across the way at Bardessono. They came in, loved Hope and Grace, loved what Charles was doing, and so we got invited to go down to Santa Monica to Port Jonathan's Club for a 1,000-person party on the beach for Save the Oceans. So those little things were developing. My point was really to get Hope and Grace's name out to as many people as I could, you know, because the product was legendary already.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody that tried Hope and Grace, they loved the wine. It was Charles's magic that he did that was enabled to, he could make that wine every single year and make it legendary, you know. So what was fun from my side was all of a sudden Stanford showed a real interest in Hope and Grace.
Yeah, because you have a brand, you have a Stanford brand, right?
Well, basically, we've done wine every year for the football team and the football, everybody going to a game. Hope and Grace is being poured at the football game, so it's legendary, you know. And then basketball, Mike Montgomery was a legendary NCAA basketball coach. He became a huge fan of Hope and Grace. Bunch of the coaches, it was just, you know what? It was all just very simple. People meeting. You meet each other. They find out about Napa Valley. Then they go, oh, you're from Yountville. Oh, you have a connection with Hope and Grace. That's our favorite. And that's how it keeps growing.
It just keeps growing.
Yeah. And so it's really fun through the years. I mean, the men's and women's golf programs, they've won a lot of NCAA golf championships. But the kids that go through the program, they find out about Hope and Grace through other people. Yeah. So now they're pro. They're living in Florida. They're living in different places. And they call us up and they say, hey, we want to order the Hope and Grace. We have a housewarming we want to do at our house. And it's pretty fun.
So you have a huge network of just influential people and just everyday people who are just, you know, I say that all the time. It's funny because when all of a sudden, when people find out you live in Napa, all of a sudden they want to visit you.
Right. Everybody.
I've experienced it, you know, but I got cousins, I got relatives who are just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come hang out with you. I'm like, you haven't hung out with me in a lot.
Right.
But I love it though, right? It's
but if you're in Napa.
Yeah, but if you're in Napa, it's like they want to come. But I know, you know, and I'm not mad at it. It's just a joke, so don't get mad at me. But I recognize that because you're in a place, you're in a place where people want to be.
Exactly.
And they feel like, well, if you're there, then you must either know something or you're cool enough to be there.
Right.
Let me meet you. And then of course, you know, you have a lot of things. Let's talk about a little bit with you stay connected to Stanford. You know, a lot of people go to college and then they graduate and they really don't ever go back and they go on with their life and their career. But you've kind of been connected to Stanford throughout your career post graduate. What are some of the amazing things that you've done and partnered with Stanford, or even memories that you have since you've been since you graduated?
The amazing thing is I was 18-ish when I decided I want to go to Stanford. And like you say, most people go, they're done in 4 years and they're done. So I done that, went to Stanford, and then went directly into dental school, finished that up. I was young. I was 25 years old and I was a full-fledged dentist, which that's a young age. And so I was probably, it wasn't until about maybe the year 2000, maybe 98. And it was a good, you're looking at, 15 years after dental school had happened. And I got approached by Stanford. And they said, you've been nominated and we want you to be on the board. There's a division in the Department of Athletics called Buck Cardinal Club. And it was a fundraising board to raise money for all the teams, the scholarships, and to be kind of your back part of Stanford again. I thought about it it didn't take me long, and I said, this sounds like an interesting thing, because I'm going to be able to see Stanford from the other side, not as a student, but the other side of how does Stanford work? How do they do this incredible athletic program? How do they do this incredible academic program? And I can see it like from the inside. So it was a 4-year term. I agreed to it. And it was fascinating, because I'm on a board with 30, 35 members. It's a who's who of Silicon Valley. It's a who's who of a lot of people out there. 90% of them went to Stanford, but they had stories they could share about what all they did, what they launched, the business they did. And we were all there to try to do whatever we could to keep raising Stanford up year after year. And so after my 4 years, they came to me, they said, the bylaws say you have to come and go after 4 years. They said, but we like you. So we're going to create you as a member, not on the board anymore, but you're going to be a member that we keep on, and you can stay on this board. You know, it's almost like a Supreme Court judge.
Yeah.
So here it is, gosh, 20 some years later, and I'm still on the board.
Wow.
But it's fascinating, because to see the inside of how the whole thing operates is mind-boggling, because there's so much that has to be done to keep a program like that at that level.
Yeah.
And so that's been the fun part, you know, and the best part is you're meeting people, like meeting you, meeting other people in life, people that you say, they could be a mentor to me. And, and maybe we can all open up doors for each other and other things. And I think that's the most fascinating thing Stanford has offered to me, is this ability to give back. And so that's something in my life that I've always wanted to do, is to give back to others, and they come to me and they say, hey, I've got some things here. Let's chat about this. And one thing leads to another, and it can be business, it can be athletics, it can be, you name it.
So I just want to, you have such an extensive storyline, but I just want to ask you something. You've done a lot in life. You've worked, career, you've hung out with the who's who's, you've done the who's who's of the who's who's.
Right.
What, at this stage in your life, what matters to you the most? What is the most important thing as you look back and you accumulated all these things and met these peoples and had these accomplishments? When Dr. Doug looks back, what mattered the most to him throughout the journey?
So the journey, looking back, is the strongest core to me is family. It's that watching the family grow, watching the grandkids here. And then it's also trying, what's important to me in life is, if somebody comes to me, and it happens often, and we sit down, we have a heart-to-heart conversation, they were talking about the direction where they want to go in life. And I offer them things that I've seen in life. They offer me things, and I said, you can never connect the dots going forward. You can only connect those dots going back. So when I look back now, I see where all this has developed and came from. So what it's done is, the importance to me, and the really strong point in my life is, how can I help you? How can I help you? Those are the things that I think that's something should be a priority in everybody's life, but it's not there.
Yeah.
And to me, it is a priority.
Wow.
So that's what I've learned through that journey, is how can I help others? Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let's cheers real quick.
Hey.
And let's go over here. Let's go meet your winemaker real quick.
Yes.
And, let's talk
winemaker,
about
owner, everything. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
All right.
Okay, great.
All right, so we're here with the legendary winemaker, owner, Hope and Grace. How you doing today, Mr.
I'm doing
Hendricks?
good. Thank you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Nice to
So
meet
before
you.
we get into the conversation, explain what we have poured in our glass, and let's have a toast. But go ahead and explain it first.
So this is a Cabernet that I've always liked St. Helena. St. Helena's the nicest, the kind of the most narrow part of the valley. It gets good radiant heat, gets the Cabernet just ripe, but it cools off at night. So it preserves the acid, builds the color. And this is just kind of one of those attributable to St. Helena. And you know, in the Napa Valley, you got to have a Cabernet.
Got to have a cab, yeah.
And I found St. Helena makes the best cab. So it's
you're gonna start a war out here, and I don't want to be a part of it.
So you get deep, nice, dark fruit, and you get supple tannins. Everything just kind of, you know, rounds out.
All right. Well, cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah.
And this is why Doc stays in business, because everybody's teeth get red.
That's right. That's right.
So he's always whitening teeth. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your journey in the wine. For those who know you, they know you're legendary. But for those who don't, let us know a little bit about yourself.
So I grew up in Anaheim. My father was a veterinarian. Davis is the only veterinary school in the state of California. So I was going to go to Davis. Got in. That was it, you know, and by about the end of my second year, the end of the sophomore year, I go like, I don't think I'm going to make it, because the veterinary school has like 2,500 applicants for 200 freshman places in the veterinary school. And I was probably just a B student.
Yeah.
And so
it's not that bad.
Yeah. So I took the university wants you to be a well-rounded person and all that stuff. So they have breadth requirements. And Vit 3, Introduction to Winemaking, was one of those that everybody took, because you could taste the wines of the world in the lab. I took it and I said, okay, I like this. So everything from pre-vet switched over to winemaking without missing a unit. And so I was off on the upper division.
So you found something that was an easy transfer.
Yeah. And at the time, they had the School of Ag with the grape growing, the viticulture, and you learned to grow broccoli and pistachios. Then they had the School of Winemaking in the food tech, and you learned to pasteurize milk and make frozen pizzas. And they weren't integrated. So at the time, I wrote my own major, integrated the two. So I got out without taking all the viticultural classes and all the winemaking classes. And so I felt I was kind of more well-rounded than most of my peers. I had about a 15-year advantage on them, it turns out, because I knew both sides of the game. You know, at the time, you always hear the old stories about how they would throw you got paid on sugar points. The valley here would plant 7 by 12 foot, and then they'd fertilize. You'd paraquat the weeds, you Saigon the bugs, and you go on vacation to Hawaii. Well, things were changing at that time, where we didn't really have trellising. Now we've got trellising, pinched it up, and got sun penetration to the fruit. And that was probably the biggest thing from going from a green bell pepper flavor in a Cabernet like this to cherry and chocolate. And
That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think when a lot of new people come into the younger generation are coming in, and they're appreciating wine, but they don't understand that was something first time I ever heard of that. So I've just learned right now, right? And so there's this journey that took place of people like you and a lot of people like you who were curating and making this into a fine finished product, right?
So I should have got out in 81. I guess started in 77. But I worked a quarter for Mondavi at Harvest. So I got out in spring of 82 and went to work over in Sonoma at Gunlak Bunshu. And at the time, we had no idea about the surly aging of the white wines, where you leave it on the leaves and they decay, they autolyze, they give back their intercellular proteins and find out all the impurities, the different toast to oak levels, and the different oak toast levels. So you can go from light, medium, heavy. And so we kind of forced all that research by an industry back on the university. Now the university is, finally caught up.
Right.
They got a big, nice new facility and everything like that they didn't have.
Your classroom didn't look like the one they have now.
No. But yeah, it was, it's just been kind of a gradual upslog of, where I wasn't, well, I was over in Gunlak Bunshu, worked for a guy who had me trained on the forklift, on driving a truck, on, racking, all the other different stuff that you do in a winery. So, I mean, I cleaned a lot of hoses and tanks and everything, drug a lot of hoses. And finally, I got to be winemaker. And you were asking about what was going on in the 90s. Well, those were the go-go years. Mm-hmm. I started working on a winery on Spring Mountain, Barnett Vineyards. And we sold our 92 Cabernet for $25 a bottle.
Wow.
And took it all around the Bay Area.
How much is that bottle going for now?
Well, it's now. But in 95, we sold that bottle for $60. So just, 3 years later.
Years, yeah.
And it's almost like you couldn't ask too much for the bottle or, and there was a restaurant in St. Helena called Trevigna. That was always the kind of the power lunch place and all that stuff. And when you'd go there, you could just feel everybody kind of listening into your conversations. They got their head cocked and they're looking in. So yeah, Trevigna was the powerhouse restaurant, which doesn't exist really anymore. It's become a pizza parlor up there. But yeah, the 90s were the go-go years where, everybody was vying for the numbers. There was Stephen Tanzer, Robert Parker, and the Wine Spectator. The Wine Enthusiast got into it, but everybody gave you a numbers rating. Mm-hmm. And, if you were 85 to 88, that was death, nobody cared about that. And you'd go out to dinner or these winemaker dinners, and there would always be some lawyer who would monopolize the conversation. He says, I read Tanzer, I read this guy, I read that guy. And so I bought 5 cases of each, that has this 94 plus rating. And so everybody else is falling asleep at the table, because he just won't shut up and let things be. And it's the scores have now kind of gone away. So everybody's, that's why you come to the tasting room, is to try it, see if you like it, and buy it.
So you would say back in those days, those guys had they were like sports writers. They kind of had all the power. Yeah. If you got into the Hall of Fame or not, right?
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
So let me ask you this: as somebody who was a part of the process, who went through the journey to educate themselves, you don't have to say it because I don't want to get you in trouble. But did you respect that the numbers that these people in these magazines came up with, or was it more so?
No, they were all capricious.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I've never put out my wines for these magazine ratings or anything like that, just because I knew I didn't make a wine that Robert Parker would like. He likes these big, massive, nice guy to talk to, but you never knew what he was going to write. Except I knew that my wines, like this wine, it's got balance, it's got nice, it invites another glass. Mm-hmm. His wines are big, bold. He was a proponent of this 200% oak at the time. Mm-hmm. And those wines, all the fruit's gone now, and they're just oak bombs. Mm-hmm. And, the Spectator you couldn't trust because, who was buying advertising there was getting better numbers. And so, yeah, I'd taste the same wine.
Basically playing the game.
Yeah, and I'd go oh, that's a great wine for 85 points, where they really rated that a 95, kind of thing. Yeah. And there was just enough of that just to kind of, I don't know. I probably should have played the game. Probably
been richer.
Better, yeah. Been richer, exactly.
I mean, there's always that balance in life, right? There's always this kind of game, no matter whatever industry that you're in, you got to kind of, massage the relationships or do things. And some people are just better than that than others. So it doesn't mean that their product was better. It was just they were better at other aspects than the actual wine, right? Yeah. I think I don't know if you want to kind of attest to this. I want to kind of segue into that because there's a big controversy of the wine, the younger generation of not being into wine as much, right? Do you think that, let me not ask what you think. I believe, and what I hear a lot of it is that they're kind of over a lot of the old school way of how wine was bought and sold, and they kind of coming with a new thought, a new wave of how they want to have the experience. or what they even think about it. I mean, what if you have anything to say about that?
So
what would
C.
you say?
Everett Koop was the first guy who tried to become this neo-prohibitionist and, return us to abstinence.
Never that.
Yeah. Murtaugh, who was Biden's Surgeon General, also came up with this thing that said, okay, this, wine gives you cancer or something like that. I don't think it's been proven. I mean, the thing that put the kibosh on C. Everett Koop was the Mediterranean diet. All the Italians, the Greeks, the French, everybody drink copious amounts of wine, and they live longer.
They live longer. Yeah.
And so it became part of a healthy, kind of diet and regime. And I don't think that's really changed at all. But yeah, my daughter, who's 31 years old, she doesn't really drink that much. She lives down in Los Angeles, and she says cannabis and ketamine are the new the new things. And so yeah, they don't drink that much.
Okay.
I mean, it's kind of trying to find a way back. The pricing here has gone kind of crazy. We don't charge that much for a tasting, and I think our bottle prices are well priced. But when you go up to Lakota and it's $475 on bottle one,
Yeah.
that's that generation ain't gonna buy that.
Yeah.
And so I think we got to have a little bit more realistic stance here.
Yeah. So what would you say to young winemakers and the young people who are coming into the industry? They're up and coming. They're not facing the same challenges you face. But what do you see, and what advice would you give?
Get out of the lab. Go into the fields and
get your hands in the dirt.
Yeah, you can't make good wine from a laboratory. You got to go out and you got to look at the vineyard. I mean, if the vineyard's turning yellow or turning red, it's shutting down for the year. And so you got to know whether a heat wave's coming or a rainstorm's coming. If it's still green, you can survive it. You can put water on it, or it'll soak up the water and digest it. But I don't know. I always consider myself more of an artist, which is about 2% of the the thing, rather than a technician.
Okay.
And there's so many technicians out there. They're making technically correct wine, but hedonically inert. That they just don't have any pizzazz or anything like that. Just get out of the lab would be one of my.
So it'd be like the AI of wine.
Yeah, it's like I don't even use a refractometer, the thing that you kind of look at the difference that tells you the sugar for the harvest. And so I kind of intuit. Just kind of I use the lab as kind of a backboard for what I already kind of know.
Right.
And it's taken years to get there, but yeah, I mean,
maybe almost like don't skip the process of being in the field, knowing the earth, knowing the seasons, instead of trying to do it lab forward first.
Well, you got to get a classical education, let's say, before you can kind of deconstruct it. And kind of that's, where the style comes in, is kind of on the deconstruction. I mean, at Davis, they said, don't, serve a wine that's, a pH 3.55 and above. pH goes up and down. And this is like a 3.75, something that they would have had me acidulate in school and completely ruin. That was one of the things that the old school professors said, well, or never asked, how does it taste? They were always trying to, in viticulture, it was always, put the pedal to the metal, see how many tons an acre you can get. In winemaking, it was all about the numbers. And, we found out about balance. And the valley floor is going to produce a different tonnage than the hillside. And the valley floor, which this comes from, makes as good a wine as the hillside once you bring the vineyard into balance. And
I had a conversation with somebody, which by the time this airs, that one would probably have gone first with the Madrone brothers, and they started a war that I didn't know that I'm involved in now over the grapes that are grown in the mountains compared to the grapes that are grown in the valley. And so, which one? Let me ask you: do you, in your opinion, professionally, grows the best grapes?
I've made great wine out of both of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I mean, you know all the erosion control and everything that you have to have in the mountains. I've seen it, poorly done in the flats, and the whole vineyard's washing out across the road or whatever. But there's especially in St. Helena, you get out here in the valley floor where it's more sandy, alluvial kind of and cooler out there. And so a lot of areas you can't get the Cabernet ripe, down in Paso or something like that. They're trying to, I don't know, I always don't, yeah. I think the growers are their own worst enemies a lot of times because they're always, what's getting the highest and best dollar, and that's always Cabernet. It's the king of the red grapes. And so, they invested in all the Rhone varietals, the Syrah, the Grenache, and they did those well. And then they got the idea that they can grow Cabernet too, but it doesn't have the richness and everything that this valley, which is pretty unique to growing Cabernet, has. Yeah.
So I just want to pivot. Was this anything question that because you know him personally, maybe there's a question you might think that, you want to.
I think what's remarkable is take the Pinot grape. He's been doing the Pinot Noir from Santa Lucia Highlands for well over 20 years. And that was his first wine that he did as Hope and Grace. And I think it's remarkable how it's, as a Pinot, people come in and they say it's silky. There's fruit to it. It's got great flavor to it. And what amazes me is how he's able to do this year after year. One of the things he touched upon, he knew what vineyard he wanted to go to. He's out in those vineyards. He walks those vineyards. And in every varietal that he does, he knows about that vineyard. And so, my question to him is, share a little story about that Pinot when you started Hope and Grace.
Well, back in the day, again, Cabernet was the greatest and best. And so the Pinot I started with is from Monterey County, the Santa Lucia Highlands, which is the kind of the west side of the Salinas Valley. They used to grow Cabernet down there that, again, tasted really green and like red dirt. Then phylloxera hit. And so phylloxera gave us this time to kind of readjust all the vineyards. And it's in like the Salinas Valley, all the vines are tilted like this because the wind is coming in off of the Monterey Bay and blowing to the south. It never goes like this. It always, goes north to south. So all the vines are, kind of wind blown, and it creates this kind of stratified fog level, which of course you're not going to get the Cabernet ripe down there.
Right.
And so phylloxera kind of allowed us to kind of replant where the right varietal in the right neighborhood. And after they did that, in 2001, I was buying fruit for Barnett Vineyards, and the vineyard manager called up and said, "Hey, Charles, we got 10 extra tons of Pinot. You want it?" And I know what I'd been making up there, and I go, "Yeah, I'll take it." So I took it, and all of a sudden go like, "Oh, that's a little bit of grapes." And so then that spurred me to go get the licenses and all that stuff. And I go like, I'm in the business now. I'm just not a winemaker consultant kind of guy.
And what year was that?
2001.
2001.
Yeah.
Okay. So as we're kind of winding down a little bit, I just want to ask a couple of questions, just really, really quick. What is your favorite vintage? What is your favorite year of Cabernet in Napa Valley?
Oh, probably one of my best wines was the Viader 99.
99?
Yeah.
Okay.
99 was a short, kind of nice, warm year. Everything got ripe. It was just beautiful.
Okay, 99.
So that year, out of 10,000 wines, he was like number 2 or 3.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's your favorite. And would you say that for other producers that was just a good year overall for?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'd probably say that.
Yeah.
I mean,
I mean, they didn't have your magic touch, of course,
Yeah.
but
They got, you got 97, you got 2002, I would say, 2005, and then you had problems with the 9, 10, and 11. 11 being kind of like the worst year from 83. 83, we didn't know what we were doing really. In 2011, we went out and field thinned all the mildew and rot and kind of, and then from 12 on, we've had a gorgeous run here from 2012. 13 was a little bit better, but everything else is kind of
been
yeah.
And my last question for you, and just real quick, what do you want to see? You've seen a lot of change. What would you like the Valley to look like in another 10 years from now?
Well, when I started here, you could be a small family proprietorship. The big guys have come in and bought all the small family. I don't know why they pushed the price of entry from $5 million to $10 million. And then the other guys, the billionaires, have come in and bought multiple wineries. And I don't know. It's probably never going to happen again. But it just I'd love to see that return back to kind of the small family proprietorships that were here when I started. In the mid 70s was really kind of the rejuvenation, the renaissance of the wine industry here in California. And now it's been a kind of a corporate game.
Yeah.
And so, but I don't think we're going back there.
All right.
And so,
okay. Well, thank you guys for your time today. Grab your glass. Let's cheers.
all right.
I want to say this, and I always say this to all my guests. You guys stopped and talked to me. And when I reached out to you, Doc, and I'm just thankful and I'm grateful for, beyond this podcast, we've had plenty of moments. I mean, you've been at my wedding. You shared some of my, biggest moments in life up to this point. My journey in Napa would not have been what it been have I not met you. So I thank you for today.
Thank you so much.
I thank you. It was a pleasure to meet you today.
Nice to meet you
and
too.
I've been enjoying your wines for a while, so it's great to put a face with the wine. And I hope you guys just enjoy these conversations and meet me in Napa. This is the premier place to be if you want to hear the real stories of the real people that are happening in Napa Valley. We'll see you next time. Cheers.
Cheers.